I bought a refurbished Steam Deck from GameStop for $410, and in this video, we're going to open it up, take an in-depth look at it, and see if it's worth the savings. So a couple interesting things going on here. First of all, you can only buy these in certain GameStop stores and you can't buy them online. And second of all, Valve does reference the GameStop refurbished units on their website, but says GameStop does everything and they have their own warranty. So kind of interesting, but let's go ahead and take a look at this thing. So looking at the front here, I do like the box. It's got some cool graphics and it's actually the exact same size as the original box for the Steam Deck, and of course as the GameStop branding. Now the interesting thing is here on the back it says it's backed by their 7-day return policy, which is of course just classic super short GameStop return policy. But let's go ahead and open this thing up and see what's inside. All right guys, here we go. A little bit nervous. This is a very similar unboxing experience to the brand new Steam Deck. Let me just show you a comparison to the original box here, and you can just see how closely the two look. So you can see in both boxes you have your Steam Deck on the right side, power adapter on the left side, even the exact same box in the refurbished unit. Now something else here, we have a GameStop refurbished Steam Deck QR code. I'm gonna scan this and see what it tells us. So it's basically just like a bunch of regulatory, it's just a health and safety, maintenance, and regulatory information thing. So it doesn't tell me anything about being refurbished. I thought it would tell me some details about like what was refurbished. Because in classic GameStop style, they didn't give me any details about what was refurbished here. It just is called refurbished and that's about it. Yeah, so here's the GameStop listing of their Steam Deck, and they essentially say nothing about the refurbishing process, what it means, or just absolutely nothing. All they say is that they are wizards at refurbishing, which is just like, I have no words for that. And here in the corner, they even show them replacing an analog stick on the Steam Deck, which is kind of some foreshadowing for this video. But yeah, just classic GameStop style, no details about the refurbishment process, so I have no idea what's going on here. Now we do have our power adapter here, which is wrapped up in a rubber band. Oh, black rubber band. Interesting. We'll leave that box in there, put the power adapter to the side, and we do have, it does come with the carrying case, which is good to see. Got the original one. So now pulling the Steam Deck case out of the box, it does look pretty good. I mean, like, I guess it's used, but I don't know, I don't see any blemishes or anything. It looks just like a normal Steam Deck case. I do have my own personal one we can compare to here on the top side, and yeah, I mean, looks exactly the same. Yeah, I mean, literally no difference. So let's go ahead and open this bad boy up. I'm kind of excited and scared to see what's inside of here. Well, let's check it out. Dun, 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 dun. And there it is. Oh, I don't see any major blemishes right off the bat, but it does look, I guess that's just dust from the case probably. But looking at the inside here, yeah, I mean, the case looks good. All I see is some imprints from just, the Steam Deck sitting inside of the case. But at first glance at the Steam Deck, it looks pretty dang good. At first press, the buttons feel pretty nice. Got our, of course, our touch pads there. Got our start and select. Got our triggers, and I don't know, RB and LB feel a little bit off, maybe. I don't know. Well, of course, compared to my personal Steam Deck. Now, looking kind of at the top, oh yeah, you can definitely tell they pulled this thing apart. There's like a ton of prying marks here. Wow. All right, yes. First of all, on the R1 right there, you can see a blemish, which is not a big deal. It is a used unit, so I expect some blemishes here and there. But there's just like prying marks all along the top side here. So of course, when you open the Steam Deck up, you have to remove some screws and you have to pry apart like basically the back piece. But if you do it right, you shouldn't get this many pry marks. But coming from GameStop, not too surprised there. I did see some prying marks on the bottom as well. Let me see if I can find those. So yeah, you can see the prying marks there as well. And again, for the savings you're getting here, it's not a huge deal, but just something to point out. So a few other things to point out here. First of all, the D-pad is pretty mushy, at least compared to mine. Mine is not nearly this mushy, so I'm assuming this has had some pretty heavy use. And also the analog sticks don't look bad, but you can just tell they've been worn down some. Now again, this is a pre-owned unit, so I don't expect it to be perfect. It's not a brand new thing, so it should have some wear and tear. So everything we've seen so far is fine, not a big deal, especially for the savings. Now let's go ahead and plug this thing in and try to turn it on and see if it works. So guys, checking in from the future here, I just realized they didn't use a magic eraser on this thing, which is like, how did I forget that? That's amazing. They sold me a refurbished console that was not wiped down with magic eraser. I mean, hey, we're seeing improvements in GameStop here, so I'll take it. That port is really loose. Hold on, let me compare that to mine. I don't recall that being an issue on mine. So I did compare to mine, and mine does wiggle a little bit, but not quite as, oh, that's loud. Not quite as much as this, and it is booting up as you can see and hear now. But it looks like it came with a decent amount of charge, so we'll go ahead and unplug this, and we'll go ahead and set this thing up. So I'm just curious now, is it not possible to turn the volume down when you're setting it up? Because dude, this thing is so loud, and I can't turn the volume down at all, so that's odd. Wait a second, unless we have to wait for whatever it's installing right now, the updates and whatever, unless we have to wait for this, for the power button, for the volume buttons to work, I don't think the volume buttons are working. Like I can change the volume, like if I click the triple dots, go here, I can certainly change the volume. But then if I come back here and just, yeah, not, oh no, that's that's not good. Okay, let's wait for this to finish installing, and then we'll test out all these buttons here, because that's a poor start. All right, scratch that. Now the volume is working. I guess it just doesn't work when you're setting it up. That's really strange. Let me go ahead and more software updates. Okay, so let's update this again. All right, so far so good. I'm scrolling around, and again the volume is working now. That was so strange. Now let's go ahead and just we'll just play around a little bit and see if this thing is working properly. So here on the desktop now, and the touchpad is working, which is good to see. And guys, let me know down below, are you guys Steam Deck users? I've had a Steam Deck since probably July of 2022, I think, and which I pre-ordered in July of 2021. But it's a very cool device. I honestly don't use mine much because I just don't play handheld games that much anymore, and my Steam library is also very small, so it's just not a device I use very much. It is a very cool device though, and kind of was a game changer for the gaming industry in general. By the way, guys, I'm doing a Whatnot stream tonight. I'm selling a bunch of video games and consoles, so go ahead and check out the link down below, and you'll get a $15 credit if you sign up using my link. So next up, I want to talk about dead zones and stick drift on the Steam Deck. Now, I already played around with the dead zones and the stick drift for a while now, and unfortunately, we do have stick drift on our right stick. Let me just kind of show you what I'm seeing and explain what's going on here. So we're in the system level basically menu now, where we can configure our dead zones on our right stick and left stick. So if you go to the right stick here, let me just go ahead and change this stick dead zone to the minimum, which is 2000 here, and we'll test it out. And you can already see it's off kilter a little bit. It's not awful. I'll show you a percentage later that'll give you a better idea, but it is definitely drifting a little bit. And I'll do the left stick as well, and the left stick is like a little bit off, but not enough to really notice a difference. But let's go to the game specific calibration now, and I'll give you a better graph here. So now we're in the game specific menu, and we can see our custom setup right here with no dead zone at all, and just by default we're at 10% on the physical joystick position. So basically if you have no dead zone in a game, you're going to see some stick drift here. Let me just compare it to my personal Steam Deck here. So here on top is my personal Steam Deck, and you can see it's like 1%, 2%, so a whole lot better than this one. And I feel like being refurbished, in my opinion, if you're looking at a stick drift of, if you're looking at a joystick that's at 10%, that probably should be replaced as part of the refurbishment process. My guess is that GameStop's refurbishment level or threshold for the joystick is that it has to be like, I don't know, 25% maybe, or whatever metric they use. So they probably saw this. If they even tested this, they probably saw this and said, it's not bad enough, we'll keep it as is. But for refurbished, you would think it'd be swapped out. That's just my opinion. But sorry, one more thing, I meant to show you the left stick here, which is not too bad. It's like 4%, 3%. That one was actually at 0% that one time, but yeah, I think that's acceptable. Now, of course, most games have a built-in dead zone by default, and if you're going to use that default dead zone, this probably won't be an issue for you. But if you're playing with, you adjust it to have no dead zone at all, this probably will be an issue for you. So just something to note. Another thing we should look at here is the screen, because apparently Steam Decks have issues with screen, even from factory sometimes. But I just saw a video from Wolfden recently where he bought a refurbished Steam Deck straight from Valve, and it had some like light bleed on it. And just looking here, it looks okay. I don't see, again, any light bleed, and I don't see any like discoloration or anything. But of course, when we boot up a game, I think we'll get a better look at it. I'm not sure how old this game is. It's called I'm on Observation Duty. I just started playing it a few months ago. I saw Markiplier playing it on just on YouTube. I don't know if it was an old video or not, but it's a pretty fun game. You basically scroll through and find anomalies, and it's definitely a very creepy game. But yeah, let me know if you've played this before. But anyways, next thing we'll do is let Payday 2 finish downloading. Then I'll come back and just play for a little bit and give you my thoughts, and then we'll open this thing up and see what the inside looks like and see if they actually did anything noticeable on the inside. But let's go ahead and let this finish downloading. So I bought Payday 2 for $1 and played it for about half an hour, and I'd say overall I had a pretty acceptable Steam Deck experience. No issues at all, except for one minor thing. The right trigger, it just feels a little bit off. And I say that because the right trigger just feels like it's a little bit looser when you click on it. Just not quite as much tension as the left trigger. And I compare that to my personal Steam Deck as well, and notice the same thing, where it's just this one right trigger that seems to be having this slight issue. It's just a little bit off. But let's go ahead and move on to breaking this thing down and seeing what the inside looks like, because I'll be curious to see if they did anything on the inside. The first thing I want to do here is just wipe down these analog sticks, because I noticed this earlier before I started playing, but it almost looks like there's some dead skin built into the stick here, which I don't know if that's like possible to clean that off or if that's just ingrained forever. Oh yeah, so you probably can't tell, but it definitely, all that like dead skin or whatever was there just definitely came off when I wiped it down. So it looks like GameStop did not wipe down the sticks at least, which is awesome. Now another thing to note here is I showed you earlier there's some pry marks on the top here, and then some kind of like on the corner here. And talking to Danny, who has opened a Steam Deck before, he said he doesn't think there should be any pry marks there, because when you open the Steam Deck, you take these screws out and you pry out from the sides. So it's kind of odd that there's pry marks on the top. Like, I don't know if somebody just experience did that, or if there was another reason they tried to pry up on it. I don't know. Now, I personally have not opened my Steam Deck because I haven't had a need to, and if you talk to Valve, they tell you that if you open your Steam Deck even one time, it like loosens the integrity of the device a little bit, because like if you drop it or something, it's, I don't know the exact wording they use.
Opening the case immediately weakens it and makes the product less drop resistant.
Yes, there are clips all the way around it, so I can see why somebody could have attempted to pry up from the top, even though you're supposed to pry from the sides to start with. So I can see how that happened. It's just somebody that hadn't opened a Steam Deck before, which I hope was the person before GameStop, because like if GameStop is supposed to be like, you know, an expert in refurbishing these things, you would think that they know when they open it up that they shouldn't be prying from the top, but whatever, man. So first thing I noticed when I opened this thing is that there is still some camera juice around the edges, which when I say gamer juice, I mean like people using their controller, grimy hands, and just over time your dead skin gets like in the cracks and stuff, and that's, you would think they would clean that out for a refurbished handheld like this, but I guess not. Next thing I note here are the right and left triggers, which like I mentioned earlier, the right trigger seems to be a little bit looser than the left one. Now I don't see anything obvious here, like they both have their little, I guess, foam pad at the bottom to stop them. And my guess is that the spring, I guess, is maybe just loosened a little bit more on the right side than the left side. I don't know, but other than that, it looks, you know, pretty standard. So next up, let's talk about the analog sticks, and this is why I think they should be replacing them if they have some drift to them, because if you look at it here, as far as I'm aware, all you gotta do is take off these 3 screws, take the ribbon cable out, pull it out, and put a new module in there, and you have a new stick. Like that's like a less than 5-minute process. So I think they should be doing that. But other than that, I've done some comparison of the inside of this versus you know, just watching some teardowns online, and I don't see anything obvious that's, you know, obviously done here. I mean, there's a bunch of cables here that are still glued down, and knowing GameStop, if they had taken anything apart here, these cables would not be routed quite the same, and there'd be some crinkles here and there, and just like some things would be off. But everything looks pretty normal for me. My guess is GameStop opened it up and looked at this and are like, yep, looks good, and just passed it on and, you know, sold it. But yeah, overall, this refurbished Steam Deck from GameStop is like meh. Like I wouldn't call it a bad purchase, but I also wouldn't call it a good purchase. Like I think you can make better purchasing decisions here. Obviously, my first choice is always buying brand new. Of course, you're gonna pay like 120 bucks extra here, but to me, it's always worth it to get a brand new product. Now, if you're gonna go refurbished, I would recommend probably trying Valve's refurbished systems first, although I have not tested those, so I can't speak to them, but I would assume coming straight from the manufacturer would be the best ones. And even before you hit the GameStop ones, I would probably go to like eBay, just local, and just try out some used stuff that's going to be even cheaper than this and probably the same condition, because honestly I don't know that GameStop did that much to this console. But thanks for watching, guys. Let me know down below what you think about this console, and I'll see you next time.